For my video, I chose the rare neurological disorder known as Witzelsucht, which interestingly means punning mania in German. I chose this disorder because it is characterized by one major symptom, the need to make inappropriate puns. In order to properly tackle this disorder, I'll need to explain why humor is an important area to neurological disorder research. Humor is a distinctive trait that humans have evolved to detect, decipher, and delight in. Although the understanding as to why we have evolved to be humorous beings is still up in the air, Charles Darwin speculated that it is due to enhancing social bonds between people. Humor is so ingrained in our neurobiology that oftentimes many neuropsychiatric disorders will cause some form of disturbance to a diagnosed person's humor. It is also worth noting that humor and laughter do not share the same meaning. Oftentimes, humor tends to elicit laughter. It is commonly noted that excessive laughter is a symptom of various neurological disorders, even if the person does not experience humor. This term is known as a pseudobulbar effect. You see the pseudobulbar effect most commonly in diagnoses of anxiety. A good example is when an anxious person inappropriately laughs in a social situation. The movie Joker also perfectly depicted the pseudobulbar effect. The Joker had a neurological disorder that made him excessively laugh, oftentimes without humor present. The interesting and strange thing about Witzelsucht is that humor is enhanced and pathological joking becomes a compulsion, all with the absence of the pseudobulbar effect. This is very unusual for neurological disorders because typically the presence of humor declines in most disorders. This means that a person with this rare disorder will find humor in the most mundane things and compulsively express a humor that oftentimes only they get. In a case study of an unknown man with this diagnosis, we can see just how severe this disorder can be. For simplicity's sake, we will refer to this man as Ethan. Ethan is a 69-year-old man that had previously had a subarachnoid hemorrhage, or SAH, 10 years prior to evaluation. After this trauma, Ethan experienced a personality change that started with OCD. Ethan would overcompulsively recycle, even if it meant digging into trash cans in order to sort the trash. Eventually, it led to hoarding and theft. But, unexpectedly, Ethan began to develop a compulsion of constant joking with disinhibition. An MRI revealed a new lacunar stroke in the head of the left caudate nucleus. The reason for Ethan's evaluation was due to the impact that this disorder had with his personal relationships, mainly with his wife. Ethan's unhinged compulsion of making puns, oftentimes inappropriate, took a toll on his marriage. He would very frequently wake up his wife in the middle of the night bursting in laughter, only to tell her about the jokes he came up with. Eventually, Ethan wrote these jokes down in an attempt to avoid waking up his wife. He brought to the evaluation approximately 50 pages of jokes. Some of these absolute zingers include silly jokes such as, "How do you cure hunger? Step away from the buffet table." But most of them had sexual or scatological content such as, "What is a pill-popping sexual molester guilty of? Rape and pillage." His examination concluded that he had frequent episodes of joking and laughter, but interestingly, his laughter was neither uncontrollable or involuntary. This is baffling because Ethan also did well on most of his examinations. He only showed difficulties in frontal executive functions such as response inhibition, self-monitoring, and task monitoring. This explained his compulsive nature, but his compulsivity appears to only be involved in making puns. Furthermore, Ethan had a decreased level of humor appreciation. The jokes presented to him did not make him laugh, and he even described them as unfunny, even if he could identify the punchlines. Although it seems like he doesn't seem to appreciate jokes, his own production of jokes is very high. Ethan was given SSRIs to try to combat his compulsive joking, but they did not help his disorder. The only medication that provided a partial response was dextromethorphan and quinidine, which reduced his episodes but did not stop his compulsion to make puns. In another case study of this disorder, an unknown man also exhibited the same symptoms as Ethan. This man also had the compulsive desire to constantly make jokes. An MRI showed bifrontal dysfunction in both patients. According to both patients' case studies, they were able to detect jokes and identify them as funny, but they did not experience or feel others' jokes as funny or amusing. In essence, their humor was entirely eternally driven. These case studies are significant in the neurological understanding of humor because it shows that both right and left frontal involvement is necessary for pathological humor. In conclusion, the breakdown of these case studies shows that Witzelsucht is a strange neurological disorder that does not have a cure. It is also a disorder that greatly impacts the quality of life that someone has. The over-compulsiveness of making jokes, oftentimes inappropriately in both of these cases, led to disturbing their family and friends. This is a condition that is very rare, and specific dysfunction in both right and left frontal lobes can cause it.